Chapter 4. Chapter 4, dealing with exponents. We're going to do some word problems in this chapter also at the tail end. But we're going to start off with 4.1, exponents. Very important right here. I love this caution. This is one of the most important things, understanding that we have an exponent here, and we have a base, and that base is 3y. So you see that we have two sets of 3y's. If we look at the problem below that doesn't have the parentheses, the grouping symbol, we have that exponent, but that exponent, the base of the exponent is just y. So the 3 is not affected by that exponent. Very, very important for you to understand and grasp that. So in this section, we're going to learn how to write in exponential form. So we write 5 times 5 times 5 is 5 to the third. A times itself 5 times is a to the fifth. And then we're going to combine constants. We're going to also combine like variables. And then we have the y that doesn't have any partners. So let's do a couple examples. This would be written as x to the fourth, m squared, 3t to the fourth, no parentheses. That's a horrible 4. No parentheses because the only thing being to the fourth power is the t. We have 2c squared e squared. And we're going to write our variables in alphabetical order if we have multiple variables. Negative 4z to the third. We have negative 2y squared. We don't need parentheses. This parenthesis is just showing multiplication. And it's sort of showing multiplication of the negative. This is going to be negative 6x to the third. We're going to combine those constants. We're going to combine the constants again, negative 15n. We don't write n to the first. We would never write n to the first. We have a cubed b squared, again, alphabetical order. C to the third, d to the third. You have 6m squared n. You have 8u squared v squared. Now we want to evaluate, so we're going to take this value and we're going to plug it in. Notice we have negative 2. It's very important that we have this quantity opposed to this, understanding the difference between these two. The exponent in this one, the base, is negative 2 because we're including negative with our x value. If we didn't have the quantity, you see that this is the exponent, but the base of that exponent is only 2. That negative is outside of it. It is not included in the cubing. So this is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Because think about it. If we have x cubed, that's x times x times x. And if x equals negative 2, of course we have to have, we're going to see 3 of those negative 2's, which produces negative 8. Now, if we did this one, we are going to have the opposite of 2 times 2 times 2, which also creates negative 8, but a totally different way of doing it. Well, since you get the same answer, isn't it the same? Well, you can't assume that it's always going to be the same answer. So if it's squared, it's going to be a totally different answer. So we have to be aware of when we want the quantity of. So we have x to the fourth. When x equals negative 2, we're going to need that quantity. So that's negative 2 times, whoops, let's save some space, sorry. So we have negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. That's 4 times 4, which is 16. We have negative 3 to the third. This is the proper notation. That's negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9 times negative 3, which is negative 27. We have negative 1 to the fifth, which is negative 1 5 times, which is not negative 5. That's 1 times negative 1. And that's 1 times negative 1, which equals negative 1. We have negative 5 quantity squared, which is negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25. Find the area of the rectangle. So we know the area of a rectangle is length times width. So the length in this case is 4x times the width is x. And so my area is going to be 4x squared, because that's 4 times x, which is 4x squared. So area equals length times width. Area is going to equal 5y times 3. So the area equals 15y. Area equals length times width. The length is 3x times the width is 2x. We're going to multiply coefficients, and then we're going to multiply variables. We have a rectangle, length times width. Length is 8z, width is 3z. We're going to multiply the constants. 8 times 3 is 24. Z times z is z squared. Let's simplify. Okay. Yeah, so here's a great example. Here's negative 2 to the fourth, and here's the quantity of negative 2 to the fourth. This is the opposite of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which equals negative 16. And this is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, which equals positive 16. So big difference whether we're including the negative or not. So be aware. That's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 81. This is 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. This is going to be the opposite of 3 times 3, which is negative 9. This is negative 3 times negative 3, which is positive 9. This is the opposite of 2 times 2 times 2, which is negative 8. And this is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, which is negative 8. We have 2 times 4 times 4, which is 2 times 16, which is 32. And this is 8 to the second, which is 8 times 8, which is 64. So orders of operations, we're going to square the 4, and then we're going to multiply. So this is 5 minus 2 times 2, which is 5 minus 4, which equals 1. And this is 5 minus 2, which is 3 squared. I didn't need a parenthesis because there's no negatives. And that's 3 times 3, which is 9. So orders of operation, we have to do exponents first. 5 times 5, which equals 2 minus 25, which is negative 23. This is going to be, now we need the parentheses for this, because 2 minus 5 we need to include, because that is a quantity of that exponent. So that's negative 3 times negative 3, which equals 9. Really good questions. 5 minus 3 times 3, which is 5 minus 9, which is negative 4. And here we have 5 minus 3 is 2 squared, which is 2 times 2, which is 4. Orders of operations, 2 times 5 minus 3 squared, which is 2 times 5 minus 9, which is multiplication before subtraction, which is 1. So here's my answer for A. B, we're going to do what's inside. So we'll do 2 times 5. We'll do multiplication before subtraction. So we have 10 minus 7, minus 3 squared. And that's 7 squared, which is 7 times 7, which is 49. So that's the B answer. All right, now we're going to plug in. So let's plug in. Let's do this. Let's do B. Let's do the quantity 2x plus y squared. And let's erase this. Let's do, oh shoot. Let's just move this. Let's get rid of that. There you go. Okay. Now, let's plug in the values. We have 2 times x, which is 2, plus the quantity -1 squared. So we're going to do the exponent first. So -1 squared is -1 times -1, which equals 1. And now we'll do multiplication before addition. So that's 4 plus 1, which equals 5. Here, when we plug in, we have 2 times 2 plus -1 quantity squared. So we're going to do the multiplication before addition and subtractions. So that's 4 plus -1 quantity squared, which is 3 quantity squared, which is 3 times 3, which is 9. Really important to be able to distinguish. So let's do the b, which is 2 plus xy quantity squared. Let's erase it. Good. Let's do this. Let's plug in the values. 2 plus 2 times -1 squared. So that exponent 2, that exponent is only to the quantity of -1. You're not squaring the 2. So we have 2 plus 2 times -1 times -1, which is 2 plus 2 times 1. We're going to do the multiplication of 2 times 1, which is 2, and then 2 plus 2 is 4. We have this. This is 2 plus 2 times -1 quantity squared. So we're going to do the multiplication first. 2 times -1 is -2. And 2 minus 2 is 0. Squared is 0. That's a poor 0. Let's write that secondary quantity 2x plus y cubed. Let's make it bigger. Okay, plug in the values. 2 times 2 plus the quantity of -1 to the third. We're going to do exponents, which is -1 times -1 times -1. 2 times 2. That's going to give me -1. And then we do multiplication, and we get 3. Let's write 2 times 2 plus -1 quantity cubed. We're going to do multiplication, and then we get 3 to the third. We didn't need the parentheses, but it's okay. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. X cubed plus 2y cubed. We have 2 plus 2 times -1 cubed. So we'll do the multiplication. That's going to end up being -2. And that's 0 cubed, which is 0 again. And here we have 2 to the third plus 2 times the quantity -1 cubed. We'll do this exponent first. 2 to the third, which is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Plus 2 times -1 times -1 times -1, which is 2 times -1. Let's do the multiplication, and then we'll do the addition and subtraction. Lots of them. Lots of problems, which is good because each one is uniquely different and more complex, and they can be challenging. And they're supposed to be challenging, and they're supposed to be testing your ability to see orders of operations. So 2 times 2 minus the quantity -1 squared. We can't combine these two negatives yet because that's multiplication. We have to do this exponent. So that's -1 times -1. So that's 2 times 2 minus -1 times -1 is +1. And now we do the product. 2 times 2 is 4 minus 1, which is 3. We'll plug in the values. 2 times 2 minus -1 squared. We'll do the multiplication first, 4, and then the two negatives, which is a product also, which is +1. We're going to combine we're going to do parentheses, 5. 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. B is 2 minus xy quantity squared. We get 2 minus 2 times -1 quantity squared. We're going to do the exponent first, which is -1 times -1, which is 2 minus 2 times 1. And we're going to do the product, which is -2 times 1 is -2, and we get 0. That's good. Let's do 2 minus 2 times -1 quantity squared. So now we're going to do inside the parentheses 2 plus 2, because we're going to do the multiplication. Now we're going to still do the grouping symbols, because there's an operation in there. And 4 times 4 is 16. So grouping symbols, exponents, multiplication, division, left to right, addition, subtraction, left to right. 2x minus y quantity cubed. This gives us 2 times 2 minus the quantity -1 cubed. That's 2 times 2 minus -1 times -1 times -1, which is 2 times 2 minus -1, which is 4, plus 1, which is 5. 2 times 2 minus -1 quantity cubed. That's going to be 4 plus 1 quantity cubed. That's going to be 5 cubed, which is 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. Last one? Yep, last one. X to the third minus 2y to the third. Okay, that's going to be the quantity of 2 minus 2 times -1 quantity cubed. We'll do what's inside the grouping symbols. That is 2 plus 2, because we're going to do the product. Then we're going to add the grouping symbol. And then we have 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. Here we have 2 cubed minus 2 times -1 cubed. That's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 minus 2 times -1 times -1 times -1. That's going to give me 8 minus 2 times -1. And that's 8 plus 2, which is 10. All right. Those are good ones. Hopefully went, how many problems there were? Hopefully went 35 for 35. Some good basic orders of operations with exponents. Really good practice there.